Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen here on this chilly December Friday, coming at you with quite a bit actually this week. Some programming notes here on the Juice Box. Of course, we're going to recap Saturday night's main event. We're going to talk about this past week in general with Raw, Dynamite with probably arguably one of the best matches of the year happening just 12 or 14 days out of the new year. We're going to preview the Final Battle Ring of Honor show happening later tonight. A lot going on. So who knows? Could be 30 minutes, could be an hour. But I'm sure we're going to dive in, and put the straw in the juice box for your listening pleasure. As always, follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen. You can follow me on Instagram at Juicy Wrestling Closet. You can subscribe to the Juice Box on YouTube at JuicySteen. And of course, if you do listen to it on YouTube, or if you listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts via iTunes, rate, review, drop a comment if it's YouTube. Help the show grow each and every time one of those reviews or ratings gets put forth. So really do appreciate that. Also, of course, juicysteen.podbean.com. Yeah, so a lot going on we are going to discuss this week. Let's get into programming for the Juice Box right out the gate. Definitively, I want to say next week, we will probably have I say definitively and then probably, but the tentative plan is a World's End prediction show. Don't know if I will be solo or if I will have a guest, to be determined. But I do think, in addition, we will be posting the next installment of Main Event Maniacs with Brian and Jay, discussing Starrcade 97, Hogan versus Sting. As the WCW guy, I really don't need to explain much else about that match. But I know that the guys at Main Event Maniacs dove in headfirst into arguably one of the most disappointing finishes to one of the greatest stories ever told in professional wrestling history. So, looking forward to that being released. And finally, I can drop this little news item, but this Sunday, which, normally no episode of the Juice Box is airing, but it is normally a football time of year on Sunday, anytime in the fall. This week we got football on Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, but specifically this weekend, Sunday, a special episode of the Juice Box, the SIP series. I sat down with the one and only Donnie Football from 93.7 The Fan to discuss his fandom of pro wrestling and, where that all began, how deep does it go, maybe some people at The Fan are wrestling fans as well. Wanted to tap into that. And of course, I could not talk to Donnie Football without discussing the crossover appeal of football and pro wrestling and how they're pretty damn intertwined over the course of pro wrestling and football's history. A lot of football players turned into wrestlers. A lot of football players gave wrestling a shot. Kevin Green, Mongo, even Reggie White. I'm not talking about like your Goldbergs, of course, Roman Reigns, Ron Simmons, I'd be remiss. A lot of different football players got into wrestling, but few, were football players and then just decided to do it. I mean, Lawrence Taylor being main event of WrestleMania 11. So we go all through that in a very special edition of the SIP series. It's really cool to sit down with him and discuss it. The audio and video will be uploaded Sunday afternoon when football is happening, So I figured Sunday afternoon would be perfect for Donnie Football's episode. So shout out to Donnie for the time, and looking forward to hearing the finished product on Sunday afternoon. So yeah, a couple of episodes next week, technically next week. I mean, Sunday, the Main Event Maniacs episode will likely air Wednesday, and then World's End predictions probably Friday, unless they're done in another format, potentially Thursday and Friday. We'll see how it goes, because we did do Full Gear predictions with Andrew Baydala, and that was actually live on this YouTube page, and it was then posted as a audio file on the main feed. So if that happens again, we will do the same thing. We will have the audio and video for you if that's the case. But we will see. But I mean, that'll be the end of the 2024 calendar year for the Juice Box, with episodes the following week. We've got January 6th, the first episode of Raw on Netflix. So much going on here in the world of professional wrestling and in the world of the Juice Box. So let's dive right into what has recently happened. We had a very nostalgic event. Saturday night's main event happened this past week. I thought it was a very fun show. I will say that the sentiment across maybe 50-50 was that, it was a good show, but maybe it was a tad disappointing, lack of a better term. And I don't mean disappointing in, everything sucked or there was nothing great on it. I just think the expectations were too high, and things that were never promised didn't happen, and, fans take that as an outrage. So it is what it is. I don't know. I had high expectations for the show in regards to nostalgia and how the show would look and feel, and I'm sure it was going to be a fun trip down memory lane. Of course, we had Jesse the Body Ventura, we had Coco Beware, we had Tito Santana out there. Just a lot of throwback stuff. Jimmy Hart was there. Charles Robinson was the referee for the main event. So, and we'll touch on a couple of those nuances as well. But very nostalgic show, but the results were kind of what they were. I mean, looking ahead to this show last week when Josh Eisenberg and myself predicted it right here on the Juice Box, we stated this is practically a PLE that they've got cooking here, and we should, maybe not expect PLE level action, but it was going to be something special for sure. And it was, I think, overall. So let's just get into it. Drew McIntyre defeated Sami Zayn, and Drew is now on a warpath. So, I mean, I will also discuss this. We are going to have the Raw on Netflix first episode, January 6th, 2025. Right now, there's 3 matches set, and Drew McIntyre's not on that yet, but I have a feeling he could be added. So we'll get there. But back to Saturday night's main event. Liv Morgan defeated Io Sky to retain her championship. Again, I didn't really anticipate her losing. I think her and Rhea have more down the line, and Liv versus Rhea is happening at the first Raw on Netflix for that Women's World Championship. So that's the next extension of their feud. Gunther defeated Finn Balor and Damian Priest by pinfall to retain his championship. Again, it's so weird with this transition transfer period thing, where some talent's going to go to Raw, some's going to go to SmackDown, some will stay. I have a feeling Gunther's going to go to SmackDown based on promotional material and just the fact that why wouldn't Netflix want Roman, Punk, Cody, Seth, Drew? Like, some people are going to have to stay on SmackDown or, go to SmackDown. And I think Gunther's going to be the champion to do that, and I don't see a problem with that. Who knows who he'll be defending that championship against, though. If he does at the first Raw on Netflix, I'm not sure, but definitely at the Royal Rumble, I'm sure he'll defend the championship. The first United States Championship for the women came down to exactly who we thought. Myself and Josh Eisenberg thought Chelsea Green and Mi Chin, and they ended up going to the final, and Chelsea Green wins the WWE Women's United States Championship. What a wonderful moment it was for her on Long Island. It was a great moment. I think entertainment-wise, Chelsea Green's probably one of the best that WWE has right now. And in ring, she's damn good too. So I think she's the perfect choice for a quote-unquote mid-card title for the women. And I'm looking forward to seeing who ends up with the Women's Intercontinental Championship. So good on WWE for pulling the trigger on, even though she's a heel, she's a very likable heel. Almost a tweener, Chelsea Green. So, and great gear, very toyetic gear. Shout out to Matt Cardona, Chelsea Green's husband, who was all over that. The toyetic pieces of business where the gear and your hair and the tan and all these different things go into making an action figure opportunity. And I think Chelsea Green's gear and how she looked on Saturday night's main event definitely lends itself to becoming an action figure down the line, potentially with that first ever Women's U.S. Championship, which I think would be a cool distinction to have. I thought Jesse Ventura overall did a good job. He looked the part for sure. He played his part very well, being who he is. He's not shying away from giving guff to the faces or telling the heel how it is, and it's all over the place. He said that his snakeskin jacket was actually made from Damien, who is Jake the Snake's pet python, unfortunately. But that was definitely a fun little thing that he said there. But I don't know, there's nostalgia was there for sure. It was a great little addition having Jesse there, and I think he's going to be there on January 25th at the San Antonio Saturday night's main event coming up next month, a week out from Royal Rumble. Then we get to the main event, and this is where you could say boldly predicted, but I did see a lot of people on this bandwagon at the time of Kevin Owens potentially winning the WWE Championship. Unfortunately for me and him, it did not happen. However, we did get some interesting stuff now leading out of it. So, first and foremost, yes, the Winged Eagle Championship was brought back in, and I think it was a replica. It was not even like a real, I don't know. There was a lot of discourse online about that. It is what it is, but Charles Robinson is the referee for the main event here, and him holding up the Winged Eagle Championship was such a cool visual, and I tweeted out that photo of him with that championship, the Winged Eagle, the WWE Championship, and him holding up the big gold belt as well, in addition to him in the middle of him running down to the ring at Mania 24. And I said Charles Robinson is a legend, and he was actually kind enough to respond that he was honored and moved by all the nice words that I'm sure everybody was praising him with being out there. He's a ref's ref, pro's pro. He's the guy you want refereeing your match in any company, at any championship, at any time. He's the guy, so loved that little piece of business. The match was what it was, and Cody Rhodes kind of cheated, maybe being resourceful, but the chair was in the ring, and he hit the crossroads on Kevin Owens on the chair to win the match, retain the championship, and the show goes off the air. However, Kevin Owens beat up Cody, hit him with the package pile driver, something we've never seen in WWE, only in Ring of Honor and his independent days, of course, like PWG and whatnot. But he hits that move on Cody. Cody is then placed on a stretcher. As he's on the stretcher, Kevin Owens stands on Cody and just makes it even more uncomfortable, which was great heel work. Once again, though, this happened after the show. And sure, the fans, there got to see it and film it and post to social media. And how can you do this? And can you believe that this just happened? And look, when it happened at Bad Blood, when Kevin Owens and Cody had that little scuffle that turned into a brawl out at near like the buses after Bad Blood, that was awesome. It was not in the ring. Only fans that were out near that area got to see it, and it was kind of like curtain call, voyeuristically, kind of TMZ, seeing this happen, post about it, and all of a sudden it's a huge deal. But when you cut it off the main feed and it's just in the ring but off the air, I think it kind of loses its cachet because it's well known now. You could have just added this and kept it to the program. You send the show off the air with Kevin Owens beating the tar out of Cody Rhodes and stretchering him out. That's a huge angle. You can play up, and I'm sure you can play it up anyway, and they are. Kevin Owens is now walking around with the Winged Eagle Championship, saying that he is the real, true WWE champion, which, big fan. I love that. Kevin Owens carrying around a nostalgic title, saying he's the real world champion, a la Ric Flair back in 91 when he lost, or he kept the big gold belt, but lost the deposit on it, so he said, screw this, I'm taking it up north. Brought out the World Heavyweight Championship, the big gold belt, out to WWE TV, and the rest, as they say, is history, as he called himself the real world champion. So Kevin Owens doing something very similar to that with the Winged Eagle Championship, which is pretty badass. But I think you could have had so much more mileage putting this angle actually on the main show. But you live, you learn. WWE's been around for over 50, but 60 years now. I think they will be just fine. But overall, Saturday night's main event I thought was a good show. Again, Chelsea winning was the right move. I think the nostalgia, everything that happened was a great move. And I just felt that the angle at the end of the show should have ended the show. But it's okay. Let's go to... Let's see what other news and notes we want to put up here. Let's go to the Netflix show. They have been hyping this thing now for a couple weeks. They just had the WWE HQ press event. I don't even know what you want to call it, but a lot of the top stars were there. Punk, Rollins was there, and Logan Paul was there, even though he was retired, so I guess he's unretired now. But in wrestling, you're never retired, even when you're retired. And they do this little thing to set that up, the first show. And now we have 3 matches set up for this big debut show. I mean, this is going to be... I said Saturday night's main event was practically a PLE, but the first Raw on Netflix, it literally will be as close to a PLE as it can be. So we're going to get CM Punk versus Seth Rollins in a one-on-one match. Some people are saying this could even be a main event at WrestleMania if one of these guys ends up with the World Championship by then. So who knows? Additionally, I don't know, the back and forth verbally has been great between these two. And I just feel that, now you're going to present it non-title. It's almost like a grudge match. Will there be a dusty finish? What will happen there? Again, will one of these guys end up being world champion by the time WrestleMania comes around so we get a rematch for the title? Not sure if they shoehorn that or not, but I'm sure the match is going to be a banger, and looking forward to it. Liv Morgan will defend her Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley. This has been months in the making, since SummerSlam, since well before SummerSlam. The Liv and Rhea situation with Dom, of course, has been quite the leading storyline in WWE for the last 6 months. And I'm not sure if this will be the culmination at the first Raw on Netflix, but I think some answers will be found for sure. And then this is the other match that got announced. Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns in a tribal combat for the Ulafala and the recognition as tribal chief of the Anoa'i family. Couple things. Tribal combat pretty much means no rules. I would wager no DQ, like interference, anything can happen. I want to say it's similar to like Bloodline rules at WrestleMania 40 this past year. And that's where I'll come up with this. I think you're going to see The Rock. I think The Rock's going to be there. I don't know if he interferes. I don't know if his music hits only. I don't know if this is the moment where he officially says, hey, I was behind the second Bloodline. I funded it. I told Solo. I recruited Jacob Fatu. I recruited these guys. You didn't cut it, Roman. You lost at WrestleMania. You failed the family. Setting up a huge match here. Potentially for WrestleMania between Roman and The Rock, or at least, setting the wheels in motion for something like that. I think that all happens with this match here on the first Raw on Netflix for sure. I don't see any other way around it. It's right there. Rock and Roman. Now, something that's been brought up in the last day and a half. There's rumors that the Ulafala is not enough, and maybe that there could be a tribal combat or tribal chief championship title belt that could be given to one of these guys, whoever wins. And I'm just gonna say it, I don't like it at all. I hate it. The Ulafala is a non-championship championship that is legitimate. It's been passed down in the family. It, got handed over to Roman when he won the Hell in a Cell I Quit match. All these things, for it to just go away for a title that we are very all aware is only being brought forth or created for the purpose of selling as merchandise, which is fine if you're WWE. I know, The Rock carries around that little toy People's Champion belt that he had at WrestleMania, and I'm sure he'll have it at the first Raw on Netflix, but the Ulafala is a tradition, and I think that should be enough as a championship. I don't think you need to create a championship title belt for that, so I really hope they don't do that. I hope it's just, a rumor. I hope they don't go with it and follow through with it, but WWE, they can't turn away money, so... Yeah, so that's pretty much all, in the realm of what happened the last couple of weeks with WWE programming. And, WWE can't turn away the money. I can't turn away podcast appearances. So I also wanted to drop this. I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up as a little intermission before we talk about AEW, Ring of Honor, and Final Battle, of course, and also discussing some World's End. I was on a couple of shows this past week and a half, I believe. I was on the No Bones About Wrestling, or I think it's just Wrestling. Maybe that's the Twitter account, but No Bones About Wrestling podcast. I sat in with Kay and Asa, and we watched Starrcade 1990 all the way through. A great watch along. Love talking to those guys. Very insightful pod, I felt, and I put a lot of WCW information out there. We bounced it off each other. It was a good time, and look forward to hopping on their show again and discussing more WCW. And then this past Monday, I was on the maybe it was last week. I'm so lost. These weeks have gone so crazy. I actually was last week, but I didn't get to talk about it because we did the prediction show for Saturday Night's Main Event. But last Monday, because the No Bones was last Thursday, last Monday I was on the Shining Wizards podcast, which was really a great time. Never been on this show before either, and I hopped into I became the sixth person of this pod and they brought me there for some WCW expertise and asked me to, bring forth my favorite WCW pay-per-view, and I did. That video is on YouTube if you search Juice Springsteen or Juicy Steen under the Shining Wizards podcast. So check those guys out. We had a great time, probably 40 minutes. We talked about the acoustics of the WCW ring, some pay-per-view events, which ones were great, which ones weren't. The American males were brought up. A lot of cool stuff I felt we talked about. So shout out to the Shining Wizards guys. Had a great time there. But that was, love making podcast appearances as much as I do hosting or, the SIP series, Triple Threat Theater, prediction shows. I love having people on, and I love getting on those other shows as well because, I don't know, I love just putting out the world of wrestling, professional wrestling out there, and it's fun. It's fun to be in this community. So let's go into a little AEW / Ring of Honor, because we're going to hype up the Hammerstein Final Battle show here for Ring of Honor first. It's tonight. Quite a few matches on here. I'm really only probably too concerned with the main event and the co-main event and maybe one other match. It's not that I don't care, but I just don't watch Ring of Honor very regularly. But there's definitely stuff on this show that I'm going to be checking out live tonight. So, first of all, the Sons of Texas, which are Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, defending the Ring of Honor World Tag Titles against the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. Texas Bull Rope match. Give me every single piece of that. That is going to be phenomenal. And then, of course, the main event, Athena defending her Women's World Championship for Ring of Honor against Billy Starks, which should be a great match. Those two were in the main event of Final Battle 2023. So a year later, and they run it back once more. But the match I'm actually looking forward to most here at the Hammerstein Ballroom show is Chris Jericho, the Nueve, defending the Ring of Honor World Championship against the complete, always ready Matt Cardona. I mean, I've sang the praises of Matt Cardona for quite a while on this show. Formerly Zack Ryder, as you all know. But he's come through after having been fired by WWE in the middle of the pandemic to kind of reinvent himself. He's done wonders with his podcast, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, alongside co-host Brian Myers, formerly Kurt Hawkins, as well as AEW lawyer to the stars, Smart Mark Sterling. Those three guys bring forth a great podcast every single week. And they're an inspiration to me to keep doing at least an episode of new content per week as we, do this show. And, they've never missed a week. I pride myself on not missing a week. So even though I got an episode coming out Sunday, I'm glad I got an episode coming out today. Once a week, 3 a week, whatever I can get, I'm loving it. So, but anyway, Matt Cardona reinventing himself after being canned from WWE, and has turned himself into quite the independent wrestler. Of course, the Deathmatch King, the wonderful deathmatch victory against Nick Gage. He answered the Adam Copeland Open Challenge on AEW. So he's done a lot of different things, and now he gets to challenge Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Title, Hammerstein Ballroom. This is a huge match for Matt Cardona. I'm not sure if he's going to win this thing, but if he does, that's like a GCW guy with the Ring of Honor title winning it off a guy from AEW. Like, a lot is going on with this, especially considering the controversy with Effie and the comments he made about Tony Khan's dad and AEW itself, and how GCW kind of is losing guys, availability from AEW and what have you. So let's see if Matt Cardona can put it together and win this world championship. I would love nothing more than to see that happen. So Final Battle tonight should be a lot of fun. Tomorrow, Hammerstein Collision, live on the East and West Coast. Will Ospreay, Ricochet, one-on-one. I got to see their first match in person. Well, from AEW. And it was wonderful. And now we're going to have these two again. But from Hammerstein Ballroom, AEW, I love it. I wanted to mention this. We're going to start talking real random now because we're going to close out, I think, with World's End, kind of hype and what happened this past week on Dynamite. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that on Raw there was a promo, just a black screen with the O crossed out with a slash. It's probably going to be Penta. And I think Penta's going to come out. It's going to be January 6th. It's going to be the first episode of Raw on Netflix. Not sure what he's going to do. But I'm hyped. I'm looking forward to seeing what Penta can bring to the WWE style. I think he's going to be a huge seller of merch, especially if Ray Phoenix can get in there. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing that, if that is what happens with Penta in WWE. Of course, next Friday, I'd be remiss without mentioning this. Next Friday, Pittsburgh, PPG Paints Arena, the WWE Holiday Tour, coming in December 27th. As I said, next Friday. It will be a house show, a non-televised show, but I'm looking forward to it. House shows kind of give you what you will never get on a TV or PLE show. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of crowd interactions. Not as many time constraints because the matches just happen. There is no commercial break. There's no promo segments. It's just going to be straight up match. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you haven't been to a WWE house show, check it out next Friday if you're in the tri-state area, or if you're able to make it from, Pittsburgh or, Eastern Ohio or Northern West Virginia, wherever you can come, check out the show. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So let's get into AEW. What happened this past week? We got World's End next week. Like I said, I think we're going to have... the prediction show is going to happen, but it's going to at least have me. I don't know if we're having any guests or not. But... the show will definitely be predicted, and right now, the matches that we have lined up, Powerhouse Hobbs taking on Konosuke Takeshita for the International Championship. Mariah May taking on Thunder Rosa in a Tijuana street fight for the Women's World Championship. I think that could steal the show. MJF, Adam Cole, Dynamite Diamond Ring on the line. I mean, can this please end? It needs to end. Adam Cole needs to get this ring off of MJF, but if that doesn't happen, it just needs to be over between these two. There was so much promise. All in Wembley last year was an unbelievable moment, and then, injuries here, injuries there, Devil storyline. Not a lot of great stuff, and it's now back to World's End again, and it's these two again. So we shall see what is going to happen in regards to the scope of having this storyline taking up both MJF and Adam Cole in regards to, other stories. And I don't know, what's next for MJF? Is there really something that he's going to tap into? Is he going to go for a world championship potentially? What is going to happen where, what's the end game with all of this? And I just don't know. I just hope that MJF and Adam Cole kind of stop running into each other after that match. 4-way for the AEW World Title: Jay White, Hangman Adam Page, Orange Cassidy, and Jon Moxley for the AEW World Title. I don't know. I don't know what to think here. I have a feeling Kenny Omega could show up during this match or after this match. Again, we'll have predictions for all this in a week, but that's my early look at it. And then let's get to this. Continental Classic, it's going to be, and I actually didn't realize this, but at World's End, we're not going to just get the finals, of course, but you're going to get the number 1 in the Blue League versus the number 2 in the Gold League. And the winner of that is going to take on the winner of Gold number 1 and Blue number 2. So it's going to be very intriguing what we get, because right now, as it stands in the Blue League, the Beast Mortos, 0 points. Daniel Garcia, 4 points. Mark Briscoe, 6 points. Shelton Benjamin, 6 points. Kazuchika Okada, 7 points. And Kyle Fletcher, 9 points. Gold League, Commander, 0. 0 points. Brody King, Ricochet, Will Ospreay, Claudio Castagnoli, and Darby Allin all have 6 points. That is going to have to change. We have a few more matches left to go. But, I mean, you're going to get Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay potentially in the semis. And then, maybe you'll get Ospreay and Okada in the final. There's a lot that you could go with here. And I'm not sure how they're going to follow through. But I'm looking forward to that interesting way of having the semis and the finals lined up. But I am here to tell you this. This past week on AEW Dynamite, I think that we had a Match of the Year candidate 14 days out of the actual new year, which is unbelievable. Darby defeated Will Ospreay, center of the ring. This is a back and forth match. High stakes, high drama. Darby did a coffin drop onto the apron bump, the hardest part of the ring. Shout out to Kyle. But damn, he took a huge bump off that. Crazy reversals. I mean, this was just a wonderful match. Probably the best match on TV for any company this year. And I'd wager this is the top 5 match of the year. And I know that's pretty bold, especially with so much time or so little time left in the year. But damn, these two guys killed it. And I love the fact, and I know this is the point of the Continental Classic, and I know Will Ospreay has lost in AEW before, but I love that this type of tournament lends itself to having someone like Darby, who some people could look at as not believable into beating someone like Will Ospreay, defeating Will Ospreay, and it not hurting Will. It's a match in a tournament that's very difficult to win. I mean, Darby could get, wrecked the next match, and he's tired from his match with Will, and now he's got to wrestle on Saturday, and I'm sure how that'll cost him, and it all works, though. It all matters. It all fits in, and it all, one match leads to the next match, and it's just nice continuity in between. But to see a guy like Darby Allin defeat Will Ospreay like that, center of the ring, after such a crazy, hard-fought match was wonderful to see, and it gives me hope. I think Darby Allin will win the AEW World Championship at some point. I think he could be the one to dethrone Jon Moxley. I would be all here and all in for that. I'm gonna quote Sean Ross Sapp, his tweet. He just says, Will Ospreay versus Darby Allin. That's the kind of thing AEW was built on. My God, it is, though. Great wrestling. Someone that you might not think could win a match like that against a guy of a caliber like that, but he does. And it's believable, and it was exciting. I just think that's something that's kind of lost in this day and age of pro wrestling, and for them to pull the trigger on it, wonderful. An absolutely wonderful move. So I'm hyped for World's End. I really am. I think it's going to be something special. I know Tony Khan kind of mentioned that it could be the end of an era. Don't know what that really means. It's the end of a year. I can guarantee you that. But I don't know what else really, what else dictates a new era. I know you're going to be on Max, and I guess technically that could be a new era. And I will say that's pretty exciting news as well. The fact that I think you're going to be able to see any of the old AEW shows, Dynamites at least. I'm pretty sure the pay-per-views as well on Max is soon. as it happens and unfolds, you'll be able to catch those on Max. So pretty quick to have these AEW shows now in a vault, and you can go back and rewatch them. I think it's going to give a lot of fans the chance to check out AEW potentially for the first time as an alternative, and it'll be something really cool for those fans to, again, maybe see for the first time. So I just think it's a great thing to have happen for Max, for AEW, all of it. So especially, when about a week ago, and I really didn't get to touch this either, but according to Dave Meltzer, there will be very little WWE archived content on Netflix. He said that the answer is not much. There'll be all the current shows, all the pay-per-views, everything will be on Netflix, but as far as your archives, some, but very little. He says when everything happens and starts on January 1st, roughly 40 pay-per-views will be the only thing up, intermittent, some recent, some from years ago. And he also says, and this is the worst part, if you're a classic wrestling fan like yours truly, there'll be no WCW, it's all WWE. No Mid-Atlantic, no Mid-South, no World Class, none of that tape library stuff. People didn't really watch a lot of it, so that's what happened. We are 10 years removed from the WWE Network debuting February 24th, 2014. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember walking from class to class in college and watching Great American Bash 92, Sting versus Vader. I mean, and it turned into Peacock, and it's still great, but, not everything was up to snuff, and still, though, at least we have it, and I'm just happy that I have the physical media that I have, the pay-per-views that I have, the match compilations, the documentaries that I do own, and I've owned for quite a long time. I really haven't bought any new, like I didn't buy any of the new AEW DVDs. I considered maybe buying Revolution from this year if they release it, or if they've already released it, because it was Sting's final match, and it was an amazing pay-per-view overall, as if AEW doesn't have amazing pay-per-views all the time too, but, but additionally to that, just having all these things at my disposal, even so long ago. I mean, the most recent WWE DVD I purchased was the last one. Survivor Series 2023, where CM Punk returns to WWE, is the final WWE DVD ever produced, at least domestically. I'm not sure if they'll ever release any more in the UK or anywhere else, but at least in the States, that was the final WWE DVD, and I made sure I purchased it. So I have the first one, which was WrestleMania 15, and the last one, Survivor Series 2023. Of course, I got a lot in between there, but it's the only way to preserve it, to preserve all the content with the original licensed music, with the original stuff that happened, unedited. It's just the best way to go about things, and it's frustrating that it seems like the classic archived content is not high on the totem pole for Netflix or with WWE. So it's just frustrating, but it is what it is. So I'm here for the physical media. I'm going to keep it, and that's just going to be the end of that. Of course, I've got a Netflix subscription. I'm going to be hyped to see Raw on Netflix, and can't wait to talk about it each and every week. But to say that I don't miss the WWE Network OG or even Peacock now, that all those WCW pay-per-views and stuff aren't going to be as readily available, it sucks. You'll hear it with Donnie Football on Sunday, and we discussed, being able to have that stuff accessible is very nice. The nostalgia of it all, and watching wrestling throughout the years and making you want to go back and revisit some things, or maybe you miss some stuff, but having access to it is really wonderful, because you never used to have it. Now, not only do they have it at a minimal, they're getting rid of it at a rapid rate. So it's very frustrating. But, hey, WWE rules all. So they will do what they want with that content. So this has been fun, though. I didn't know how long this was going to be, but this is pretty well in my range of what I felt. 45 minutes, not too bad. Didn't ramble too much, at least I didn't think, but who the hell knows? I'm always on here every week talking. But to close out the show, just like to remind everybody about the programming schedule for the Juice Box. Like I said earlier, next week is going to be potentially pretty loaded. At least 2 out of the 3 will happen. Well, you'll get 3 episodes next week. I just don't know particularly when for one of them. I don't know when the World's End prediction show will take place or who it'll be with, but it will take place. I don't know when it will. But this Sunday, the SIP series, Donnie Football, from 93.7 The Fan here in Pittsburgh, local radio station. That'll be Sunday afternoon. Audio here in the RSS feed. Also, check out the video of it on YouTube. It's about an hour and 20 or so. Great chat with Donnie. Thank you and shout out to him as well. At DonChed54. All his info will be in the description of the pod and on the YouTube video. And then next, I believe Wednesday, we're going to be doing Main Event Maniacs. Sting versus Hogan, Starrcade 97, Brian and Jay sit down and discuss it all. Very frustrating to revisit that, but I'm glad those guys did it for me. And, of course, World's End predictions. Don't know if I'll have a guest. Could be just me solo, but it will happen next week at some point, likely Thursday or Friday. So, the pay-per-view is going to be on Saturday, so one of those 2 days before. But appreciate you guys listening. Check out the SIP series this weekend on Sunday. I'll put out those links on Twitter, of course, at Juicy Steen. Follow me there. Follow me at Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram, at Juicy Steen on YouTube. Of course, if you listen to this show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts via iTunes, or on Spotify, please leave a rating, review, or comment on the audio or video. It really helps. Amazon Music, you can listen to the Juice Box, or juicysteen.podbean.com. So, wow. Hopefully everybody enjoys their weekend. A lot of great football tomorrow. 3 college games, playoffs, 2 pro games, of course a full slate on Sunday, and then Christmas is next Wednesday. So if I will be, maybe it will air next Wednesday for Christmas. That'd be special. I'm so lost with the time. I'm just saying next Wednesday flippantly, but it is Christmas. So Main Event Maniacs could be a Christmas present. And then we'll see what happens with World's End. And then, of course, SIP Series is Sunday. So check it out and have a good Christmas. If you celebrate. If you don't, if you celebrate Festivus on the 23rd, always can do that. Watch the Strike episode of Seinfeld. I'm sure Josh Eisenberg will be doing as such. So enough of me rambling. This is the Juice Box. I'm Juice Springsteen. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the holiday. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Festivus. Have a good one. See you next time. Another edition of the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.